Dr. Rich Greiner. Title of his speech is Say Something. Say Something. Dr. Greiner.
I wish you could have been there. 22 years ago in Great Falls, Montana, we had a double feature at the Cinema 2. 2 movies for the price of 1. Show up at 7 o'clock, watch the previews, then watch In and Out with Kevin Kline, have a little brief intermission, come back and see Air Force One with Harrison Ford. Whoa! For 1 price. This was incredible. Raise your hand if you've ever been to a double feature. Yeah, you know that it's a long night. We walk in there at 7 o'clock. Sometimes we don't get out till 11 o'clock. Something happened that night in that theater that I will never forget. It affected me as a teacher. I'm a professor at the University of Great Falls. Retired now. That the incident didn't affect my retirement. I walked into the theater at about 7 o'clock, which was late because they had a long line. The smell of overpriced popcorn permeated the air. I walked in and I discovered that there were no seats left except 1 seat in the very front row. I sat down and the preview started. Now, I'd like to go to movies, so I record on my stopwatch how long the previews take. Anybody else that weird? 19 minutes and 20 seconds it took that night. And so then we saw this good movie, 90-minute movie, Kevin Kline, In and Out. It was a comedy, it was really good. After that, the lights came on, we went out, replenished our popcorn, went to the John, came back out, intermission is over, and all of a sudden, on come the previews. The same previews that all of us just saw 90 minutes ago. On my left side, somebody said, "Oh man, they're showing the previews. Oh, somebody should say something." On my right, some little old lady, who usually they have patience, said, "Somebody got to do something. Somebody should say something." I'm sitting in the front row. I'm a college professor. I decided it was my job. So I stood up. I turned around and faced the projector, and it blinded me, and my shadow went on the screen. And I said, politely, "Please stop the previews. We've all seen the previews." But the previews, like the Missouri River, just kept rolling along. Finally, "Somebody should do something," that same lady said. And I decided I'm going back. So I went back to the lobby. I went over to the projection booth, the door there, and I knocked on the door. Slowly the door opened up, and inside I could see a teenage girl in a yellow sundress. She looked petite and petrified. She had eyes as big as pies. She looked at me like I was a terrorist. And all I said was, "Please stop the previews. We've all seen the previews." She said, "I can't stop the previews. They're all on one reel." So I went back to my seat, and they did just keep rolling along. At about 11:15, at the end of the evening, as I was walking out, there were 2 Toastmasters there. Both of them came up to me and patted me on the back, said, "Rich, nice try, nice try. When something's not right, try something. Didn't work, but nice try." Fast forward 6 weeks later. I'm teaching my speech class at the University of Great Falls. It's a public speaking class. That day, students are supposed to do a story about an incident that made them mad. They're supposed to take a newspaper and get up on the lectern and say, there I was, and they tell the story of what made them mad. David Romanesco, a little slight guy, maybe 5'6", 110 pounds. He was the last speaker. And we had had a nice class. People were pounding on the table. It was fun. It was laughter. It was exciting. And David got up there and he said, there I was, 6 weeks ago, at the Cinema 2 for the double feature, featuring, and all of a sudden, some jerko halfway through the movie starts yelling, stop the previews. I'm in the back of the room and I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's talking about me. He said, then the guy burst into the lobby. He went over and he banged on the projection room's door. And I was thinking, please don't use my name. And my girlfriend Jenny opened the door, and this man shouted at her. He spit on her, and she was in tears. And he continued the speech, and he threw down his newspaper, and he went back and sat down. Everybody left the class except David. I said, David, can I talk to you for a moment? I said, David, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that happened that way. And I didn't mean to offend. He said, yeah, sure, and he walked out. Something's not right. When something's not right, try to make it right. I got in my car. I drove down to the Cinema 2 parking lot. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And of course it was all closed up. And I sat in my car. And I thought, I better try to make this right. So I wrote a letter to the manager. Dear Mr. Manager, I need to apologize for my brusque manner. I made your young female projectionist in tears a couple months ago, and I need to comment on David Romanesco, who works your popcorn stand. He had tact and honesty. He didn't say my name. And he also had the courage to try to make it right. You should commend him. Signed, Rich Briner, professor at the University of Great Falls. It was so hard to write those words. Anyway, I slipped it under the door. The following Tuesday morning, something happened in my classroom. Well, I got there 20 minutes early, as usual. I walked in, and there was David Romanesco. He was early. That never happened before. He was sitting in the front row. That never happened before. He was smiling. I didn't know he could do that. He was making eye contact at me. I said, David, what gives? He said, well, my manager showed me the letter that you sent, and I just wanted to thank you for it. And Jenny, my girlfriend, appreciates it also. So my message to you is when something's not right, try to make it right. Like I tried to do in the theater, like David did in my classroom, and like I eventually made it right with the letter. Madam Toastmaster.